Single dad stood by her when her date vanished, not knowing she was a billionaire CEO falling hard. There are moments in life when the universe tests us, stripping away our masks and revealing who we truly are beneath the surface. For Sarah Mitchell, that moment came on a rainy Tuesday evening in a crowded Italian restaurant, surrounded by strangers who pretended not to notice her humiliation. And for Marcus Chen, it was the moment he chose to see her, not as a woman abandoned at a table, but as a human being deserving of dignity. Neither of them knew that this single act of kindness would unravel everything they thought they understood about love, success, and what it means to truly see another person. Sarah sat alone at table 17, her hands trembling as she checked her phone for the 14th time. 45 minutes had passed since her date was supposed to arrive. The waiter had circled back 3 times, his sympathetic smile growing more uncomfortable with each visit. She felt the weight of curious glances from nearby tables, the silent judgment of people who assumed they knew her story. The successful, put-together woman in the designer dress, stood up by someone who clearly didn't appreciate what he had. If only they knew the truth. If only she could tell them that beneath the carefully applied makeup and the confident exterior was someone who had spent the last decade building an empire while forgetting how to build a life. At 38, Sarah Mitchell was the CEO of TechVision Industries, a company worth $3 billion that she'd built from her college dorm room. She had everything the world told her to want, except the one thing money couldn't buy: someone who loved her for who she was, not what she represented. Tonight was supposed to be different. The dating app had promised meaningful connections for successful professionals. The man's profile had seemed genuine, his messages thoughtful. But as the minutes ticked by and her phone remained silent, Sarah realized she was just another appointment that someone had decided to skip. The waiter approached again, and she felt her composure beginning to crack. That's when Marcus appeared at her table. "I'm so sorry I'm late," he said breathlessly, sliding into the seat across from her with an apologetic smile that reached his warm brown eyes. "Traffic was absolutely insane, and then I couldn't find parking." He extended his hand across the table. "I'm Marcus. You must be thinking about leaving, and I wouldn't blame you." Sarah stared at him, confused. She'd never seen this man before in her life. He was handsome in an understated way, with laugh lines around his eyes and flour dusting the collar of his navy sweater. Before she could respond, he leaned forward slightly and lowered his voice. "I saw you sitting here alone, and I saw their faces," he said quietly, gesturing subtly at the surrounding tables. "Nobody should have to feel like that. So if you want, I can be your terrible date who showed up too late. We can have dinner, you can tell me I'm the worst, and then you can leave with your head high. Or if you'd rather I disappear, I completely understand." Something in Sarah's chest loosened. This stranger had seen her, really seen her, in a moment of vulnerability and had chosen kindness over indifference. She found herself smiling, the first genuine smile of the evening. "You know what? A terrible date sounds perfect right about now." What began as an elaborate rescue mission transformed into the most authentic conversation Sarah had experienced in years. Marcus didn't ask what she did for a living, didn't probe into her achievements or her status. Instead, they talked about real things: the way coffee tastes better on rainy days, the challenge of finding good pizza in a city full of tourists, the strange comfort of old bookstores. Marcus told her about his daughter, Emma, who was 7 and obsessed with astronomy. He spoke about his late wife, Claire, who had passed away 3 years earlier, and how he'd learned to braid hair from YouTube videos and negotiate with a stubborn first grader over vegetable consumption. He worked as a baker, starting his shifts at 3 in the morning so he could be there when Emma got home from school. "It's not glamorous," he said with a self-deprecating laugh. "I smell like bread most of the time, and I'm usually in bed by 9. But it's honest work, and it lets me be the dad Emma needs." Sarah felt something shift inside her. Here was a man who measured his success not in profit margins or stock prices, but in his daughter's laughter and the warmth of fresh bread shared with neighbors. He spoke about his life with such genuine contentment that she felt ashamed of her own emptiness. "What about you?" he asked. "What makes you happy?" The question caught her off guard. When was the last time someone had asked her that? Not what she'd accomplished, not where she worked, but what brought her joy. She opened her mouth to give her rehearsed answer about her career, but something stopped her. "Honestly, I don't remember," she admitted quietly. I've been so busy climbing that I forgot to notice the view. Marcus nodded, understanding in his eyes. It's never too late to look around. They talked until the restaurant staff began stacking chairs, oblivious to the world around them. When they finally stood to leave, Marcus insisted on walking her to her car. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets gleaming under the streetlights. "Thank you," Sarah said, and the words felt inadequate for what she wanted to express. "For tonight. For seeing me. Thank you for letting me," Marcus replied. "Would it be too forward to ask if I could see you again? Actually see you. Not as your rescue date, but as—" "I don't know, just Marcus." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. "I'd like that. But I should tell you something first." She took a deep breath. "I'm not exactly who you think I am. I run a company. A big company. And my life is complicated and demanding, and sometimes I work 90 hours a week. I need you to know that before we go any further." Marcus smiled. "Sarah, I don't care if you run a company or a country. Tonight, I met someone who laughed at my terrible jokes and listened when I talked about my daughter and didn't check her phone every 5 minutes. That's who I'd like to see again, if she's interested." 3 months later, Marcus discovered the truth when Emma Googled "cool CEOs" for a school project and Sarah's face appeared on the screen. He stared at the Forbes article about tech's most influential leader, and then at the woman currently teaching his daughter to code on his living room floor, her hair in a messy bun and his old college sweatshirt drowning her frame. "You could have told me," he said that evening after Emma was asleep. "I know," Sarah replied. "But for the first time in my life, someone saw me, just me. Not the company, not the money, not the success story. Can you understand how rare that is? How precious?" Marcus pulled her close. "I do now." Sarah had spent her life believing that success meant standing alone at the top. Marcus taught her that true wealth was measured in the people who stood beside you, in the love that asked for nothing but gave everything, in the courage to be vulnerable enough to be truly seen. And Marcus learned that the woman who commanded boardrooms with fierce intelligence was the same woman who cried at animated movies and helped Emma build blanket forts and showed up, fully present, in every moment they shared. Sometimes the universe doesn't give us what we want. It gives us what we need. A stranger who becomes family. A moment of kindness that becomes forever. And the courage to believe that we are worthy of love exactly as we are.